Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devils Experience. How y'all doing? Hope everybody is doing well. We have probably not some of the best updates, but we got a little bit of an update on the manager situation. It's still dragging behind. We're still trying to figure out what's going on with that. We're going to get into that. There's some newer links, still linking Pochettino and a couple other managers to the job. So we're going to get on to that. Possibility of a new left back being talked about. I think it's one that we greatly need, 110%. So we will see about that. And we have a couple more player transfer updates, a couple loose players, Jao Neves and whatnot. So I hope everybody's doing well. Smash the like button for me if you can, real quick. Greatly appreciate it. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber already. And let's get straight into the news, guys. So as you can see here, this came out yesterday. But we're going to talk about it because it's been a little bit slow with the news. So, we have to make do with what we got so far. It's been a little bit quiet, which is oddly strange around Manchester United. It's usually not that quiet. It's usually very pumping of stories, and it hasn't been the case in this week, really. It's pretty much died down, which is kind of strange and somewhat maybe even concerning, I guess you could say. But yeah, Manchester United's end of season review and decision on Eric Ten Hag's future will not go beyond this week. Was from Jamie Jackson last night. And actually, I think that they got it. They have to do this this week. There's no way that they could go past this week. It's causing a lot of instability. It's causing a lot of frustration within the fan base. We're already frustrated as it is. We didn't have a good season. Obviously we finished the season on the end winning the FA Cup. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done here, and people are getting very, very tired of this whole manager situation. Everybody just wants it sorted because everybody just wants the club to be able to move forward. Start looking at the more important things like player recruitment and make sure that we have a good squad for next season. And I think people really want to move on. And we're tired of dealing with this situation, and the radio silence is not helping. I mean, a lot of the journalists have gone absolutely quiet. They've gone absolutely quiet. There was a lot of news, before the FA Cup, a little bit after the FA Cup. But from the end of last week to the beginning of this week, there was a little bit of noise that it was going to happen today. It was going to happen yesterday. And that was it. There hasn't been much of an update. Richard, it's good to see you. Richard, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. So we had this update here. Manchester United's end of season review and decision on Eric Ten Hag's future will not go beyond this week. Then we had a following update here that came out today. There was a couple things from the Disco Mirror that came out, which is pretty much only the real piece of significant news other than the slight transfer rumors that we got. So to the opposite of what Mr. Jamie Jackson was saying here yesterday or last night, the Disco Mirror have come out and they have said that Manchester United sources have indicated the season review conducted by Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his football operations team remains ongoing. So they are still doing the review. I don't know if that means that they're gonna finish it by the end of this week. Maybe we get the news by the end of the week. But we also had a further update that came on, and it's not that one. But basically, the Disco Mirror went on to say that there is no actual timeline. There's no actual timeline on when this is supposed to actually be done. So contrary to what Jamie Jackson was saying yesterday, that it has to be done this week, the Disco Mirror has come out and said the complete opposite, and saying that it could possibly not be done this week. It could possibly not be done by next week. There is no actual time frame on it. It will be done when it's done. So we could be here for another week or two. We could be sat here tomorrow talking about the decision they made. And it kind of just goes back to what I was harnessing on last week, that nobody really knows what's going on. There was a lot of talk. There was a lot of fire going on social media, within the journalists putting out the stories and whatnot. And there just hasn't been anything of significance, I believe, because no there is no news. Nobody really knows what's going on. A lot of it to me was guesswork. A lot of it was, them just making a prediction, making an assumption. And that's why it's kind of gone pretty quiet over the last couple days, is because nobody actually knows what the deal is. And there's nothing to report because they ain't getting any information because INEOS haven't made a decision. Uh, but INEOS need to make a decision. I myself, I'm getting pretty tired of it. I'm exhausted of it. I don't want to keep talking about this. Um, but we cannot move forward until this situation is settled. So, I think it's fairly it's starting to get fairly annoying. I see a lot of people getting fed up with it. Sorry, Richard, you good? So I find it fairly annoying that this is still hanging around. I just really want them to make a decision at this point, and maybe this is their angle. Um, maybe this is their angle that they're going for. They're just trying to drag it out to make it so annoying and so boring that the a large portion of the fan base just don't care at the end. And you think people are just tired of not knowing? Yeah. Well, it's really just the indecision, Richard. Like we can't. It's almost like we can't really move forward as a club. We can't really focus on things. Axe Lord is here. Good to see you. I'm glad you guys are here. Yeah, I know it's been a little bit. I'm sorry about that. I had some things going on, and then also the news has kind of been dead. So I was kind of hoping that we would get some type of a significant update. But I didn't want to go another day with that, at least coming on here and chatting to you guys. So we'll make do with what we got, and we'll make up our own conversations if we have to at the end of the day. But I hope you guys are doing good. But I was just saying, like, on this whole managerial situation, I'm seeing a lot of, people that are Ten Hag in, people that are Ten Hag out. A lot of people are fed up with this. Um, a lot of people are fed up with this. A lot of people are getting bored of it. They're annoyed of it, and maybe this is an angle from Ineos because maybe they were gonna sack him. You know, especially if we lost the FA Cup. There's a big argument to make that if we did lose the FA Cup, they probably would have sacked him the day after or so. And now it's been dragged on to what is it? It's going to be 2 weeks after, and still no decision. So maybe they're dragging it out to try and really just bog down the pressure, the kickback that they were getting about thinking of firing Eric Ten Hag, because again, the majority of the fan base was in support of Eric Ten Hag, and I'm sure they seen that, and I'm sure they felt a little bit of the pressure from it because there was even some big accounts, some big supporter groups of Manchester United that have a lot of say and a lot of power when it comes to like the fan base, and they're respected. And even they were putting out letters to Ineos, sharing it on social media. And I just think that maybe they're dragging it out because they're trying to just really make everybody like. Because even I feel it a little bit, because I'm at the point where I'm like, dude, I'm so fed up with this. Like, I almost don't care about the decision they make anymore. Just make a decision. Let's get on with it and let's move. Obviously, I still want Ten Hag to say, and that'll be my preference. But, part of my mind is at the position. I'm like, dude, I'm starting to really like you're just sucking everything out of the energy. It's really boring. It's really annoying. I want to move on from this situation, and I want the club to start preparing and going after transfers, and like let's build for next season. Like we need to be ready. Um, and Richard saying I have to say they are not making many friends among the fan base. Not yet. A lot of their things, it's not looking too good for them right now. They're getting a lot of pushback from a lot of different angles. There's pushback from fans that want Ten Hag to stay. There's pushback from people that want Ten Hag to be sacked. And there's pushback from maybe people that are in between or something, but they're just not happy with how we are not really looking at there's not a lot of movement in the transfer area right now, where typically if it was a Glazers summer we would be having a lot more stories going on right now. At least usually um we start off pretty decently in June, and then July, and it's kind of dead at the end. But right now it started off pretty slow. And it's because of this managerial situation that I fear. Axlord is saying they're either incompetent and unable to find somebody better than Tuchel. Spoilers: there is no better available replacement for Erik ten Hag, or they wait for the FA Cup to run off. Well, that's pretty much what I was getting at. A lot of people, this is what a lot of people are thinking, and a lot of people are saying. They're either incompetent or they're scheming something. There is something we still have to think about in the back of our minds. Or it's good to keep on the top of your head. Remember, Roberto De Zerbi has signed, or somebody has paid Brighton the $5 million for Roberto De Zerbi to go to this club. This club has still not been mentioned. He has still not been unveiled, and there hasn't been any talk about him since then. So if that's the case, and Manchester United, in the same period of time, are still undecided on their manager, there could be something there. Unless that story was incorrect that somebody paid Brighton the $5 million. But there was nothing that came out to rebuttal that, as far as I seen, unless I missed it, but I don't think so. So if that's the case, we might have to, there's something to keep in the back of our mind that Roberto De Zerbi might be the guy. They might be bringing him in. Maybe they're discussing with De Zerbi, but I feel like we would get an update on that. The silence has been very strange. There's been a lot of things going on where, big aggregator accounts of United are putting up news from supposedly credible sources, right? And then they're deleting them because it's being found out that the information isn't 100% backable. Or it's more of an opinion, so they're getting rid of it. I've seen that over the past couple days where they've tweeted out some things, and then within 20 minutes it's gotten taken down, and there was no saying why, but it's just the sole fact that there is basically literally like no information. But I think, United fans listen, there is also the possibility that INEOS are just taking their time, and they're trying to do it as thorough as possible. And as annoying as that is as I can't speak, as annoying as that is to us as fans, because we want things to move quickly. Maybe they're just not too concerned about that. Some people might say that that's incompetence. And it could very well be, because we got to see how the rest of the summer goes, right? But we're definitely off to a slow start. We're definitely off to a start that basically pretty much the whole fan base doesn't want to be at right now. To switch gears just a tiny bit, we lost Torsten to Chelsea. I think the last time I was live with you guys, we were looking at Torsten. Torsten is signed for Chelsea. We've lost out to that. And Michael Elise is under threat going to Chelsea as well. So Chelsea, they've fired Pochettino. They've hired their guy. They got him in, and they're already looking at a second transfer already. Manchester United have made no decision on the manager, and we're just basically window shopping a bunch of player transfers. Two people that have been linked to us and pretty heavily look like we are going to miss out on them. So it is starting to get a little bit concerning. It is starting to get a little bit frustrating. And my only thing to INEOS is that INEOS need to make a decision, and they need to start moving. This, for me, it's going to be a real problem if this continues past this week. If there is no decision by Sunday, it's going to be a bigger issue than I think it is. Really. Um, Axe was asking us when Eric Ten Hag is supposed to return from his holiday. I think this week. If he's not already back, I thought he was supposed to be back already, but apparently he was still in Ibiza. That I read yesterday, I think. So I would assume that he would be back this week then. If it wasn't already done. Yeah, he should probably be back this week. I would assume. So maybe we do get it by the end of the week because maybe he'll be back from his vacation. You think it's Saturday now, Richard? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So maybe we do get it this weekend. I specifically predicted that we would get this update or decision on Wednesday or Thursday, which obviously my prediction is wrong because we haven't gotten it, and it's not going to come out today. Maybe tomorrow. I think it would be bad to kind of, if you're going to sack Eric Ten Hag, I think it's kind of worse to just do it on a Friday, a Saturday, or Sunday. It's the weekend. People have worked long weeks. They're tired from the job. They're trying to relax a little bit. They're trying to enjoy the weekend. The weather is getting a little bit better out there, pretty much all over, the world for the most part. Again, the majority of the fan base still want Eric Ten Hag to stay. So for you to come out on a weekend when people are supposed to relax and be comfortable and enjoy themselves, and you come out and you make a statement saying that you are, firing the manager, you're gonna upset a lot of people on the weekend. I think they're gonna be even more upset about that. So I think the timing would be bad. But listen, I'm just one person. I'm just a fan. So maybe they're looking at it in a different way. Richard saying, I get all that, Eric, but Sir Jim is supposed to be this massive United fan, so he must know how the fan base thinks. I think, listen, whether he's a massive fan or not, right? And he claims he is, right? I don't know the man personally. I'm not friends with him. I don't follow him through his life. I don't know, how much United he's actually watched or, how much he actually supports the team or, it is what it is. That's what he claims. There's nothing for me to really be able to disprove what he claims other than the fact that was a season holder ticket at Chelsea. But then again, he's a businessman. He does most of his business in London, when he's there. And maybe it was just convenient for him. You know what I mean? But on that point, I think 100% that they know they definitely gauge the fan reaction. I'm sure they're aware of the fan reaction that is currently going on. At the same time, it's always this ongoing battle, right, between fans and the higher ups on the inside, right? They have a specific job and a specific outlook they need to do, they need to look at. And we have a different one because we're on the outside, and we can be a little bit more opinionated, a little bit more rash. We're fans, The thing is that they might be looking at it through one lens, one way, and be like, listen, the fans are they're getting agitated, they're getting upset, they want this guy to stay, but they're just gonna have to put up with it because we need to do our processes, and I still, I always try to be even-handed, until all the facts are laid on the table, until there's a clear-cut decision to be made, unless is made or just something, because right now this is all speculation, this is all thoughts, this is all opinion. So I think they might be looking at it through one lens, and we're looking at it through a different lens because we want quick decisions. We want to move fast, and I think they can do that. But then again, it seems like they're kind of going again. They've been up against it since they came in. They came in January. They're still trying to put all the pieces together. Our CEO is not actually starting until July. We're still trying to get the director of football. We only have the technical director, and then we have the other guys. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. They are under a lot of pressure, especially to perform very quickly. And I think we're seeing this kind of indecision because it's the club was a mess when they came in, And I still think it's a mess. And the mess is still going to be there for a while because it's going to take a lot to sort out the mess. And sometimes before you sort out the mess, you sort of make a bigger mess because you just have to basically like pull everything apart, look at everything, evaluate everything, and it sort of turns into this bigger mess before you can start putting things where it has to go and filing them away and getting rid of the mess. But I think they are aware of that. Now, I don't think that is going to necessarily 100% change their decision. If you look at what they did at Nice, they've made some decisions where the fans weren't happy with it. The club captain came out and called them out about certain decisions they made. And I think the way INEOS are going to operate, and I don't think many of us are going to like this, is they are going to make a decision contrary to if it's popular or not, but they're going to make the decision that they feel is best, and those decisions at times are probably going to piss off the fan base. So I think really, I think they gauge the fans, but at the end of the day, they're gonna be like, listen, they're gonna be pissed off about it, but um, we really believe that this is the best way forward, or this is the best plan, or this is the best course of action. So we're gonna go this way, and they might be mad. They take the gamble on. They might be mad, but if we're right and we're successful, they'll turn around and come to us. You know what I mean? So maybe that's how they're seeing it. But from a fan's perspective, it's obviously really annoying because we just want the player recruitment, the transfers. We want to get players in. We want to get players out. We want the window to be good so that it sets us up for the best possible direction for next season. And obviously, a lot of us want Erik ten Hag to stay too. Part of it is we don't really see the point of this long of a review because a lot of us want Erik ten Hag to stay. A lot of us think Erik ten Hag deserves at least the next season. So it's frustrating on that front as well. Axelord saying the rat is a plague. Axelord saying fans have to stop the billionaire fetishism. He is not some sort of Tony Stark. Let's be real. Richard saying, I get all of that, but no matter what business you are in, the number one priority is keeping your customers happy or at least informed. Yeah, I mean, well, that's that's also another good point, though. I feel like the way it's handled in terms of information has not been great. And they obviously could have done a better job. They could have probably done something a little bit differently. They clearly obviously disagree because they are continuing down the path that they have continued and kind of just not really made any real statements about it. Maybe when they make the decision, we'll get some sort of a long forum statement and an explanation. Maybe it'll be in that. Maybe they tend to not speak before something is done. There's a lot of games that go on in this sort of high level thing. So it's always something interesting to think about because there's so many different like avenues and ways you could kind of look at this. So I always my head always goes into like 12 different places. I'm like, yeah, but what about this? What about that? But what if they think about it this way? It's hard when you're not in there, right? But I get what you're saying. And again, like I just said, it's to a point where they can take a calculated risk, I guess. A lot of business people do that. They like that, right? They like to do calculated risks, they call it. So the calculated risk, in my opinion, would be to sack Erik ten Hag, kind of ignore the fans, and go with their guy. In the short term, they're going to get ridiculed. People are going to be very upset with them. People won't be backing them as much. But if their decision yields positive results, they'll get a lot of people back on side later down the road. And they'll look good. So they might be doing something like that where they're taking like a calculated risk. In the short term, they're going to piss off a lot of the fan base. People aren't going to be happy. But if they believe very much in the decision that they're making is the correct decision and it's going to yield positive results, then that's why they might choose to do what they choose to do, because they see it as like, all right, they're going to hate us right now, but once they see where we're going with it, and then once they see like, the improvement, they'll come back to our side. Which, I don't necessarily agree if that's something that they're I mean, I don't necessarily disagree if that's something that they're like, I understand it. I understand that way of moving or thinking that they might be doing. But yeah, Axel talking about, the billionaire fetishism. At the end of the day, these people are humans. They make mistakes. They're not perfect. They're not always right. Obviously, they're more successful than maybe the average person because they have a lot of money and they might have some certain experiences. But that does not mean that these guys are gods and they are the be all and end all and everything they do is gold and they can never do no wrong. So that's why I think, but like us, we keep a very open mind. We're not here on our hands and feet praising Sir Jim. At the same time, we're also not like super rash, screaming and shouting, saying "Get out of our club, you bastard!" and going crazy. We take it as it comes. So where are we? Because Richard saying they've had 5 managers in 5 years at Nice. Yes, that is also kind of a problem. I hope they don't do that at United. I feel like they won't. I feel like the Nice thing was kind of like their little. So what it looks like to me is because Sir Jim got Nice, right? But Nice was always like this little side project almost for him. Like the Nice thing wasn't his be all and end all. It wasn't like he got Nice and he was like, okay, I'm good. He was always looking for something bigger. He wanted a United or a Chelsea. He was looking at one of these top clubs. He wanted an English club. That was his bigger goal. That was his bigger prize. The Nice thing, while it is a good indication, and it can be of how they might operate, decisions they've made, and mistakes they've done, and things they shouldn't have done. I hope that they don't do exactly the same things that they've done there. Like, I don't want 5 managers in 5 years. If they did 5 managers in 5 years there, maybe it was because they were still trying to find out, what is the best way to move forward for them. How do they do things? What is the best possible solution? Maybe they made a couple mistakes in the first 2 or 3 that they thought they had somebody and they didn't. And hopefully if they did, they learned from those things and they don't repeat the same mistakes that they did at Nice at Manchester United. If they copy the same exact model that they've been doing at Nice and they do it at United, it'll be a big problem because Nice is not Manchester United. So there's a lot of things that you could do at Nice and get away with that you can't do at Manchester United. I'm pretty hopeful that they're pretty aware of that. Again, like as much as like they're slow or they're being slow right now or they're kind of doing things that we're not liking too much. I would still like to think that these people are still fairly intelligent. They're not morons. I mean, they've worked in high end sports stuff for a while. Obviously not football, but it's just we got to see where it goes. But I really want a decision made on this. It's really annoying. Axel saying I heard some Nice fans who are furious about the rat. Yeah, there's a lot of Nice fans that are not happy with the way Sir Jim and INEOS are running the club right now. They disagree with a lot of stuff. They haven't gotten they haven't done terribly, but they haven't gotten exceptional results to basically quiet them down. So I think I think it is definitely a concern to just keep in the back of the mind. But we also had this. We had this little follow up, which was this is by Bates people. He's pretty credible because the people I follow, they only really post credible people. So it's not like some random guy is just saying this. This guy has like some type of credibility to him. So he said Gareth Southgate is atop of Dan Ashworth's list should United should decide to change the manager this summer. Ten Hag is still the manager, and the chances of him remaining look strong. However, Southgate appears his biggest threat, which I still somehow call bullshit because how can Gareth Southgate be his biggest threat when Gareth Southgate has refused to speak or discuss this because he's focused on the Euros and on England? And Gareth Southgate wouldn't be able to step into the job until, like late July. I don't know when the Euros runs and ends to. I know it's starting soon, but I don't know when it actually finishes. But there's no possible way. I mean, like, let's just say as a hypothetical, if this was true and Southgate is the number one guy and they're doing all this to get Southgate, and then somehow they weasel it so that they get Southgate, and Southgate comes, after the Euros or whatever. I think all their credibility will be absolutely shot. I think they will totally lose the fan base, in every aspect. Because Ten Hag inners won't be backing them. Ten Hag outers won't be backing them because Ten Hag outers are not asking for Gareth Southgate. Nobody, it's in July. Yeah, I think it's at the back end of July. But nobody is asking for Gareth Southgate. So if they did this is the most unpopular thing that INEOS could possibly do. It is the most unpopular decision they can make. Like, keeping the manager is unpopular in a certain section. Sacking the manager is unpopular in a higher percentage, or the majority of the fans. Sacking Erik ten Hag and bringing in Gareth Southgate is literally the most unpopular decision that they could possibly do. And if they do that, they will lose the entire fan base because it's not just going to be one section. Like, if they sacked Erik ten Hag and they bring in Tuchel, there's going to be a good amount of people that they're going to be happy with Tuchel. People are going to be upset with Ten Hag is gone. If they sack him and they get POCH, right? There's some people that want POCH. Nobody wants Gareth Southgate. So if they decide that they're gonna do this, I mean, they'll lose me for sure, 100%. I would not be able to take them seriously if they sack Erik ten Hag and bring in Gareth Southgate. I hate Gareth Southgate. I don't like him as a manager. I think he's a joke. And I want him absolutely nowhere near my club. I don't even want his name in the same sentence in an article online. Like, I want him nowhere near the club. And while I still think this is bullshit, there's still probably a 5% worry inside of my brain that is like, well, they're fucking holding out. They've been holding out. They're taking a long time to make this decision. Why? What are they trying? What are they doing that is taking them so long? Because there's no way that they're still reviewing the whole season. So, are they trying to see who they can get? Are they having discussions with other people to try to see who they get? Are they trying to fucking get in contact with Gareth Southgate in some way? You know what I mean? And this is why it's taken them so long, because he's not really up for it, but they're really desperate for him. I really hope not. I still feel like it's bullshit just because that decision would be, honestly, it would be the worst decision possible. And I just don't understand, because even to me, even if the Glazers, like if we had no Sir Jim Ratcliffe, right? And the Glazers were still 100% making all the decisions, and they had, Richard Arnold or whoever, right? I don't even think they would go for Gareth Southgate. So I don't know. I just feel like there's no way. But then we just had this break, like literally 5 minutes before I started the show. And this came from Fabrizio Romano, and he was talking to Gimme Sport, and he said Mauricio Pochettino is another coach who doesn't feel he needs to take some time before the next step. He wants to return as soon as possible, so I'm sure in case Manchester United decide to go for him, he would be more than ready to restart and to be back in the business immediately. But again, at the moment, the priority for Manchester United is to decide on Erik ten Hag, inform ten Hag, and then eventually to go for another coach. Now, that last sentence, Rajad, it's good to see you. How you doing, Rajad? Now, that last sentence is a little bit, I think that's just the way Romano talks. I don't think he's indicating that United are actually going to sack him. I think because, if you go back to what he said the priority at United is to decide on Erik ten Hag. So that means there's no decision. And inform Erik ten Hag. If Erik ten Hag is informed that he has lost his job, then they would eventually go for another coach. I think that's the way he was saying it, but the way he said it, it kind of reads a little bit. You could read it in a slightly different way, right? Yeah, what are you guys saying in the chat? Richard saying maybe they want to let Gareth concentrate on the Euros, but this is what I'm saying. Like, how can you let Gareth concentrate on the Euros? Because that's kind of crazy. So we're not gonna. So our new manager won't step in until basically when our CEO steps in. Where's the prep time? He's gonna finish the Euros and he's gonna have to come in, and we're basically going on preseason. How is he gonna be prepared to do any of the things to be ready for next season? To me, it would be an absolute disaster. It would be a train wreck of a season. I think he would be underprepared. The squad would be underprepared. I feel like the preseason wouldn't go well. I don't think we would be ready for the start of the season. I think the beginning of the season would be bad. I just don't see how the Gareth Southgate thing, in any way you look at it, is a good decision. I think he's fair. He's highly unpopular. People don't like him. People don't like his football. Richard, we have an update on João Neves, actually. We're going to get to that. But he's highly unpopular. People don't like him. People don't like his football. And he's not going to be able to be ready to be prepared for the season. I think the whole thing with Gareth Southgate would be totally the worst decision possible. Like, I seriously feel like the Glazers wouldn't make this decision with Gareth Southgate. I feel like it would be so ass backwards to do that. So that's why, I hope that, that's not what they're doing. If they're doing that, then we seriously have to rethink our position with INEOS, because, we were giving them benefit of the doubt. We were very hopeful that, we're going to see some big change. And this, you could technically argue, is big change, but it's not the big change that we want. It's you could almost argue it's worse than what the Glazers were doing. And that's not what we were looking for. We were looking for an improvement on what the Glazers were doing. So Axel is saying, yeah, sacking Ten Hag has to be explained very well. I mean, finished 8th is not a good explanation. Well, yeah, I mean, well, so from the reports, they saying that they're looking at a bunch of different things, right? It's not just it's not just his position that he finished in. They're taking into account all the injuries. They're looking at all the situations he handled individually behind the scenes with many different players. They're probably looking at things like Sancho, Anthony, probably even Ronaldo, Marcus Rashford. Maybe things that we don't even know that went on, that happened internally that we're not even privy to. That's supposedly what they're looking at, right? They're looking at all these different details. But yeah, they hopefully would come out and explain very detailed in a statement on why they decided to do what they did, whatever it is they decide to do. Axel was saying, if their guide does not have an immediate positive impact, it will turn out bad. I mean, how well calculated is that? Looks like a big gamble. Yeah, it could definitely be a big gamble. It really depends on who they go for. Like, there are certain managers that are a bigger gamble than other managers. I think Gareth Southgate is the dumbest gamble you can take, and it is by far the greatest gamble, because there will be no patience with him. And like you said, if it's not immediate positive impact, it's pretty much going to be over for him. Poch might get a little bit, because he does have some supporters here, but not a lot. It's not a lot of people. Tuchel maybe a little bit more because he seems to be a little bit more popular. And maybe a De Zerbi. He's those. I think for me, the out of the outside candidates of Erik ten Hag, the most popular seems to be between Tuchel and De Zerbi. But still, I think, within a year, if it doesn't go great, everybody's going to be on their backs. So I don't know, but it is. Listen, whatever they do, it is a massive gamble to go. For example, even to get somebody like Pochettino, right? Listen, Pochettino's been sacked pretty much from his last two clubs in like 2 years. Pochettino hasn't won a trophy ever. The last time Pochettino did something of significance at a club was when he took Tottenham to the Champions League final, and that was about 8 years ago. So, you sack Erik ten Hag, who's won 2 trophies in 2 years, regardless of league position, and 1 year was 3rd and 1 year was 8th, right? And you're going to sack him for a guy, bring him in for a guy that has never won a trophy, has been sacked by his last 2 clubs in the last 2 years, and has done nothing of significance since about like 8 years ago. Where's the improvement in that? Where is the indication of something like, there's something that we can back to build on here? For me, that would be a decision of downgrade to go for Pochettino. Like, Pochettino is a legit downgrade to Erik ten Hag at this current moment, 110%. So, and there's not many upgrades out there anyway. Like, there's holes in all these managers that they are looking at. The only one that they might be able to get away with is a De Zerbi, because he's a little bit younger, and he's a little bit newer. So, people might be able to get behind that, and he did have some good football going on, right? So if he can kind of get the good football going and show something, maybe people would be willing to back him a little bit more, give him a little bit more time. But obviously that is yet to be seen. Rajat's in here. Rajat's saying, how about someone like João Neves? Yeah, you guys have mentioned João Neves a lot. I mean, João Neves is a fantastic player, by the way. I would absolutely, if I was in charge and we had the money, to do it, I would probably make him priority number 1 and number 2 signing. And I would go get him. I think, I think that kid is just going to be absolutely fantastic. He is a really, really good player. He is really, really good at his position. The problem is he costs way too much money. And Benfica are a tough club to negotiate with. One of my good friends is a Benfica fan. The other one is a Sporting fan, and the other one is a Porto fan. So the top 3 in Portugal, each one of them support one of them. I've known them for quite some long time. I have pretty much, I know how all their clubs operate. I know what they think of these players. And Benfica is a very, very tough club to negotiate with. They are very strong. They always seem to get their transfers. They're very firm. When they have a 100 million price tag on a player, they never give in to anything less than that 100 million. So it's always very, very difficult to deal with them. And I don't think we have the money. He has about 120 million buyout clause, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be very, very hard. And we do have an update on that, and I'm going to get into that. But what else you guys saying? Richard also saying he would go for João Neves. Rajat saying, if they sack Erik ten Hag, there are not too many options that fill you with confidence. De Zerbi is maybe. And then Rajat also saying, and to fund João Neves, sell Donny Van de Beek and Casemiro for 65-70 million. Yeah. It's just the problem of, like, you're going to spend all that money because here, you know what? I'll just pull it up. So here it is. Since we're talking about João Neves, this is a good segue. So this came from TransferCast. This came earlier this morning. And George Mendes, who is the Portuguese super agent, right? And if you guys remember, there was a story about how Manchester United had a meeting with George Mendes not too long ago, probably talking about, players that he's agents of and what kind of deals and if anybody's available. And they said George Mendes brought an offer of around 51 million from Manchester United from Benfica João Neves, but the club turned it down. They want at least 85 million. And this is what I'm saying. Like Benfica are very, they're a very strong team when it comes to transfers. I think they have 120 million buyout clause on him. And this I think is being generous in this report, saying that they want at least 85 million. I think they want more. I think they want the buyout clause because I don't even think they want him to go. From what my friend was saying, the sentiment coming out of Benfica is pretty much that they don't want him to go this season. They want him to stay one more season. And I guess they kind of talked to him about that, and they probably told him, João, just stay here, do one more season with us. You're a fantastic player. You're gonna shine anyway. And then after next season, we'll let you go. Your transfer fee will be higher. And you'll probably be better off. So Benfica are not really even looking to sell him. I think they're being generous with this 85 million. I think Benfica want the full buyout clause. Or there's no chance. And then obviously it would be up to João if he wants to leave or not. Bebe Delicio was in here. He said yes, Ten Hag out, Tuchel in for next season. No, anyone is better. Thomas Tuchel to United. Well, you're certainly in the minority, but your opinion is welcome. I'm not a fan of Tuchel. I don't really want Tuchel. I don't think it would go well with Tuchel. I know some people that do support Tuchel. I know some people that they want Tuchel. They don't shut up about Tuchel, and actually they kind of annoy me because they just don't stop. Right. But yeah, I'm not convinced about Tuchel. I wouldn't like it. I'm not his biggest fan. But I don't know. There was some links with Tuchel. Then it seemed to die down again. Now it's kind of going back onto POCH. There was a couple things about POCH today. So nobody knows. Nobody knows. This is what we talked about last week when I did the show last week. Is that nobody actually really knows. It's a lot of speculation. It's a lot of talk. And nobody knows because no decision has been made. And that's literally all it is. I think, and I said it early in the show, and a lot of you guys weren't here, so I'll say it again. I think the reason why, because this week has been really quiet for news. It's part of the reason why I haven't done a show. Because I wanted to do one Monday, Tuesday, and it just wasn't like the best of news. But it's been very, very, pretty much quiet for the most part, and I think, and that is solely because nobody knows what the hell is going on because no decision has been made, and nobody's being told anything. There's like little whispers, little murmurs, but there's nothing really that you can confirm. There's nothing really to latch on to, and I think that's why the radio silence from a lot of the big journalists around United, we've seen that this week that like nobody's really putting out stories. Nobody's really saying anything. There isn't really like much to talk about. And it's just because there's no information. Like nobody knows what is going on. Sandy is here. Sandy, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Sandy saying, latest vote for Thomas Tuchel from Bayern Munich is vacant. He doesn't have the crab. Why can't we go for him than wasting the time? Axel is saying Tuchel is better tactician, but his personality is no good. We are a club full of internal conflicts because of big egos. Why bring Tuchel then? Well, I think that's one of the reasons why they seem to be a little bit hesitant on Tuchel. Is that it is like his attitude and stuff, and the fact that he does have a lot of falling outs. That has been reported a few times, and I think it definitely is like a fair avenue to be worried about that. Like, his personality, he does have like a lot of clash. I don't know, like, how how well he's gonna get on, like, at this club. Now maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be good for us because maybe he needs to maybe he needs to go in there and maybe he needs to sit down those fucking players. And the ones that are a problem. The ones that do have egos and don't perform. To what we need them to perform. Maybe we need that. But then also at the same time you can argue, yeah, but that's gonna cause a lot more problems, and it definitely could. I just never been convinced about him too much. I just don't see the golfing class between him and Ten Hag. I don't see it. Like, for me, the golfing class like would be like an Ancelotti or somebody to that effect to Ten Hag. But Tuchel is not Ancelotti. So, like, for me, I just don't see it. I don't see it. Richard saying the talk is also going now. The majority of the money for player sales will go towards refurbishing Carrington. Really, I didn't see that, but that's not good. But Sir Jim is supposed to invest more money. He's supposed to invest like another 200-300 million, and I thought that was going to the refurbishing of Carrington. I hope not, because then we're not going to be able to buy players. If they're putting the majority of the money from player sales to do that, we won't be able to buy players. So hopefully not. But I didn't see that. But yeah, I'm not doubting it, Rich. I'm just saying I didn't see it, so I don't know. But I hope not. I hope that's not the case, because how are we gonna get players? We need that money. We're in a situation where we literally need to sell to buy, pretty much. And then Rajat saying, why not buy them out from their contracts so they leave and we don't get stuck with them? Who? Oh, like the players? But that would cost us more. Because then we're just not getting a transfer fee. The best option is to get a transfer fee or something, anything, something. You gotta try and get something for them. You can't just let them go. You can't just pay them and then let them go. You're losing double money, pretty much. And we can't afford to lose anything. We're not in a position to take. We're not even really in a position to take losses. Like to take a loss on Anthony and get rid of Anthony. To take a loss on like Sancho. We're not even in really a position that we can like really afford to be doing that. Unfortunately, we might have to, though. Like, for example, like Sancho. Like Sancho, for me, Sancho is done. Like Sancho doesn't have the majority of the fan base backing him anymore. Whether he wants to come back or not, I don't think a lot of people want him back. I think a lot of people want him gone. And to get rid of him, Dortmund already saying that 50 million is too expensive for Sancho because he's also on ridiculous amount of wages and he doesn't want to lower his wage fee. It's not ideal. Like, we're gonna have to take a loss on Sancho to get him out. It just wouldn't it's not good. We're literally scraping the barrel as of right now. We are not in a good position. We are fighting basically for our lives to try and put ourselves in a the way I see it right now is we are in a hole that we dug ourselves 15 feet deep, right? And we dug it. And then we realized, oh shit, this hole is pretty deep and we need to get out of the hole. And there's maybe a couple options we could do that might not be the greatest options. They might work, they might help. But they're not the most stable options. But we need to figure out how to get out of this hole because pretty much we're stuck in this hole. We dug this hole without really figuring out how we were going to get out of it. And right now we are, sitting in a hole, panicking pretty much of like, holy shit, we need to get out. The sun is going down. It's getting cold. I'm hungry. Like things like that. Like, we are in a hole pretty much like grasping at straws right now, trying to figure out how the hell can we improve this situation. Richard saying, well, that was supposed to be the original plan. It was a tweet, Eric, but that's the problem with silence. You don't know what is true and what is rumor. Yeah, I guess we just gotta wait and see. Axel is saying, man, for Sancho and Greenwood, we will take a low blow. I guess they would get 40 million for both at best. I mean, the Greenwood isn't the Greenwood situation is a little bit different than Sancho, because Sancho, we paid a lot of money for him, right? And we're gonna take a loss no matter what. Like, we're never gonna recoup the 80. Um, and if you got 50, you would say that's not even that bad. We lost 30, could have been way worse. But it looks like, if you're really gonna get rid of him, you might have to fucking get rid of him for 40, which is even worse because you're literally losing half valuation. It's like buying a new car and driving it off the lot is the same essential thing that we did. Like, we bought a brand new, Mercedes Benz for 50,000 for 80,000, and as soon as we left the lot, the Mercedes Benz only costs 40 grand now. It's not great. Greenwood is a little bit different because Greenwood had that potential to be, this whatever great footballer. He might still have it. Obviously it's been derailed by whatever has happened to him in that whole situation. Didn't play football for almost 2 years. And he had an okay loan at Getafe. It wasn't like he didn't light the world on fire. He did all right. He scored some goals, and stuff like that. The difference with Greenwood is, yeah, obviously you could argue, at the time before everything happened, you would say, oh, if anybody wanted to buy him, he was worth 80 million, 100 million, whatever. You could price him at anything. But now you could sell him for 40, and that's not bad because, again, he didn't play for us for 2 years, 3 years now, because he didn't play for us, right? And it doesn't look like he's ever going to play for us, and he is a youth player. So when you sell him, it's pure profit. So no matter what we sell him for, that price is okay because it's pure profit, so it's better than anything. So that's it's not the worst situation with Greenwood. The worst situation is with Sancho, and then the second worst situation would be with Anthony, because no way in hell we're ever gonna. It's the Anthony situation is the same thing as Sancho's situation. We made the same mistake twice on two different players, and it's gone wrong two different ways. But yet again, it's literally identical. We will never recoup the money for Anthony. He is on high wages, and anybody that wants to buy him does not want to pay him those wages, and they're not, and they don't even want to pay 40 million for him. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. He could have been 80 million, but that's pretty much his fault. That's his fault. It has nothing to do with Manchester United. It's an unfortunate circumstance, whatever, from the club's point of view, because they had a player that was talented and he went and did what he did, or whatever he was accused of. But again, he did certain actions that put himself in that position. And it's unfortunate. But that has nothing to do with us. The only thing that we can do, and the only thing that we could look at is, like, we have a player here that people are still interested in. He's fairly young, and we need money. And listen, if we sell him for 40, we sell him for 40. We sell him for 50, we sell him for 50. It's pure profit. It helps our situation, and he hasn't been contributing to us. So it's not like it's not like he's been scoring 20 goals a season. And we're gonna lose that. He literally hasn't been in the team, so it's not the worst possible situation. We had a couple more updates here. Let me go back to this panel here. So this was, I talked about it before, but Torsen, obviously we lost Torsen to Chelsea. Some people say, we weren't really serious about it. We weren't really into it. Well, this came out today from Mail Sports saying that Manchester United made a late attempt to sign Torsen Adebayo. But talks over a move to Chelsea were already too far advanced. So we missed out on Torsen. So the Torsen dream is dead and over. We could have got this guy in for free. Would have been a great addition, in my opinion. Could have been a good backup, good squad player. Could have filled the gap of a Lindelof if we, sold Lindelof, or, Johnny Evans, or Harry Maguire, or whatever. We missed out on him to Chelsea. And Chelsea are going in after Michael Olise, and it's looking very concerning on that front as well, because, again, we seem to not really be making any significant moves. in terms of like actually sitting down and beginning a negotiation or whatever. I think there's contact going on, but it's nothing serious. While Chelsea have gone full pedal to the metal pretty much. They sacked their manager, they got the new manager in, and they are already on to their second transfer target, which is Michael Elise. They got in their first one already. Signed, sealed, delivered. Torsten is already a Chelsea player, and Elise looks like it's heating up on their front for him, and he might be signed maybe by next week. And we're still sitting here talking about Eric Ten Hag or somebody else coming in to take over his job. And this is why fans are getting pissed off, because we're kind of seeing the same thing that we've seen, under the Glazers, just complete indecision, taking too long, and losing out on targets that we can't really be affording to lose out on. It hasn't been great. Richard saying, I think it's ridiculous that Bruno is on 240,000 a week and Anthony is on 200,000 a week. Yeah, but that's the stupidity of United. That's the stupidity of the way we've been run for so long. Like, I've always argued, and I will keep this principle to the day I die because I learned it from Sir Alex Ferguson, and I will keep this principle till the day I die. Why, regardless of Anthony's ability, regardless of whatever it is, right? Why is it players like Jadon Sancho, Anthony, or anybody else, right? I don't care unless you're like 110% proven, but you got to be Mbappe, Harry Kane, somebody to that level. Why is it that when we go to get a player like Sancho was doing great at Dortmund, why did we give him all that money when he did nothing in a United shirt? I totally disagree with that philosophy. Like, listen, we will give you a fair wage. We will give you probably an increase on what you're making at Dortmund. But we're not giving you 250 to 300,000 a week, and you haven't even touched the United jersey. You haven't even stepped onto the Old Trafford pitch. You've done nothing for this club. Why do you deserve the club to pay you this ridiculous amount of wage? You've done nothing here. Come here, prove that you can do it, and if you do it, we'll give you 300,000 a week, because then we feel like you earned it and you deserved it the correct way. Like, it's a give and get situation. But the way we were operating, they were like, oh yeah, he's a fantastic player, did so well at Dortmund, you deserve 300,000 a week, you deserve 250,000 a week because you played good at Ajax. That philosophy never made sense to me, and I always hated it, and I always disagreed with it. And hopefully, one of the things that INEOS can do is put a fucking end to it, because it has to end. This is ridiculous, and we suffer because of this. We can't get rid of Anthony, can't get rid of Sancho, literally because they gave him these things. And a player like Bruno Fernandes is earning slightly a little bit more than Anthony, and he was earning less than Martial and less than, Sancho. Is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Axel was saying it somehow has to do with United. I mean, he grew up the academy, if I'm correct. What kind of values have they installed? But yeah, not totally United's fault. I mean, see, my whole thing on this situation is the only thing that was that was bad for him, right? And I'm not saying, anything like that, but what I'm saying is that the thing that really did him in is that all of that stuff leaked online, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of things that happen like that, like there's footballers that do horrible, disgusting things that, you wouldn't really be proud of. You know what I mean? The thing is, it's very rarely that it ever comes to light in the social media, right? A lot of those things usually go on behind closed doors and we don't know about it. He got screwed on that part because it went out public, right? And then there's nothing you can really do after that. I mean, so, like United could only have done so much. United couldn't have been there when them two were in the house and that whole thing went down and she recorded him and stuff. Like, there was nothing United could do about that. You know what I mean? So that's why I say, like, he put himself in that position, because at the end of the day, he still had to remember, like, the way he was acting, the way he was doing things, what implications it could have, the way he was. And obviously he was young and he probably needed a little bit more guidance, a little bit more mentorship. Maybe that's where the club failed him. But at the end of the day, ultimately, his decisions and his actions led him to, what happened. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's at this point, we just move on from that. It sucks because it could have went a completely different way. And it hasn't. And, it's to the point where, listen, we just cut our losses. We need the money. It's a boost in profit. And you just move on and let him go on and continue his career somewhere else, and hopefully he figures out his life and just is all right, and stays out of that shit and just plays the rest of his career and does good things. Richard saying, so seemingly INEOS didn't want a bench player on 100K a week, and that's why we lost Torsen. Is that what you think, Richard, or is that like you're saying like that's what they were saying? Like is that what, like, is that something that was reported on Torsen, or are you just like making that like opinion or assumption? That's the way it should be. More performance related wages. Everything has to be performance related. The world has kind of gotten a little bit crazy with this, just giving people things just to give it to them because for whatever reason they decide they want to give it to them. Where is the merit? Where is the, you work hard and you get rewarded? What has happened to that? Like, it's almost like when you were a little child and your parent might have been like, listen, if you do good in school, like if you get a high grade on this test, like I'll buy you a toy. And then it's almost like the whole mentality has shifted to like, all right, we'll buy you the nice toy. Just make sure you do good in on the test. And it's like, but they already got the prize. Like, they already got the toy. They don't need to do good on the test. What incentive is there for them to do good on the test when they already got the toy that they wanted? They're just going to take the toy, enjoy it, and be like, fuck the test. I already got what I needed. Why do I even have to try? There's no reason to try. So, like, it's a societal thing, too, because that's happening all over the place. But Manchester United Football Club, they need to realize that, kind of shut the outside, shut the inside off from the outside, and then get that back under control. Axel was saying the players signed for us on big money. Fans who don't know football get excited. Popularity goes up. The stocks go up, and the Glazers make more money. That is why. No, yeah. No, I get that. That's pretty much exactly why. It's all brandish. But I'm just speaking from like I was just speaking more of like from a football mindset. If you're doing footballing decisions, you know what I mean? Like, it was more of like a hypothetical, kind of thing where I'm just saying like, why? Because it makes no sense from a football aspect. But yeah, you're totally right. Like, that's exactly why they do it. That's why they always did it. It was always about stocks. It was always about money. It was always about inflating the business price, inflating Manchester United's valuation. I mean, you ever wonder why, like, every year when it goes on Forbes, and I know we have like literally the largest fan base around the world and stuff, but you ever wonder why we've been so shit for 11 years, but somehow we're still one of the most valuable clubs? We're still valued as one of the largest clubs in the world, the largest sports team of like all sports, and it's for things like that. Like they inflate the value of the club. The value of the club ain't coming from Old Trafford. There's 74 holes in the roof, and it was like a fucking water park, against Arsenal. So, the valuation ain't coming from there. It's not like we have this state-of-the-art stadium and state-of-the-art training facility. And you know, that's being factored into the valuation. The valuation is coming from all the bullshit that they do, like, you know, signing players for big money and giving them big wages, and that shit getting all written off and all written under the books. You know, Axel was talking about gigs. Could have been on that level, but it's not an excuse. I'm glad his girlfriend told the truth. Yeah, I mean, listen, she had to do what she had to do. And I always tried to kind of just stay out of that, because that's, I always felt like you know, that's a personal thing. Like, she's still with him. She chose to be with him, and you know, that's her choice at the end of the day, and she could choose to do what she wants. You know, I'm not here to play you know, I'm not here to play The Bachelor or whatever, or Maury or whatever it is. You know, these are two people. Um, and again, at the end of the day, like, it might not be the nicest thing, it might not be the most stand up thing, but listen, this is the real world, and many people have, you know, many problems, many issues in their relationship. No relationship is perfect. Some are a lot worse than others. Um, you know, and it is what it is. It's not for me to really get involved in. I'm just here to look at solely the football, and as a football decision, I would just move him on, and that's it. And he could go play, and we can get our money, and that'd be the end of the story, you know. And that's it. um if they teach them to be men, they should definitely teach them how to behave on that. Yeah. Richard's saying the papers are saying that. Okay. All right. Yeah, I didn't see that, but all right. So, you know, paper talk. But maybe they're just saying that because they was, maybe that was something they put out there because they were they were too slow. They were too slow to it. You know what I mean? They were too slow to it. So maybe they were like, oh, they didn't want him, you know, 100K in the week, but they were getting him for free. So I don't see the issue why, you know, you getting him play 100. What did they want to give him? 50K a week? He was free. You give him 100K and he's on the bench. Like, what is he supposed to earn? 50K? Like, you know, that I don't understand that angle that they would be going for there, saying like they didn't want a bench player on 100K a week. What are you supposed to give him at this point? You know, I kind of feel like 100K is like the minimum. It's like the average. You know, like 100K is like not 100K is not 200K, is, and it's not 300K. You know, so. But we also had a couple other updates here. So let's click on this, and this might be a little, I don't know how well you guys could read this. I don't know how clear this is for you, but I'll read it for you guys, so it looks a little bit blurry. But, so there was talk of a new left back. As we mentioned, that we probably do need a new left back. So today Fabrizio Romano came with an update talking about Milos Kerkez is one of the players that Manchester United are monitoring for the left back position. There have been no talks yet, but he's appreciated. Appreciation FC, apparently, that's what we are. Bournemouth have no intention to make it easy. They'd ask for an important fee for Kerkez. So I don't know if you guys know too much about him. I don't know too much about him. I really haven't paid too much attention to him in like real life, how he plays and whatnot. So I don't know how good of a player he is. But it will get clicked. Let me just type in his name here. Kerkez. He is 20 years old, so that's good though. He's young, right? Hungary international. Let me see if I can pull up some stats here on him. His current market value on transfer market is 20 million euros. So, you know, what are they gonna want from that? 30, 40 million? If his current market value is at 30, I mean is at 20 million euros. They bought him from Asa Alkmaar for 15. So, where I think the total fee was 17.87 million euros. So, you know, he's played 15 games for Hungary national team. So, he is a Hungary international. He can play. His main position is left back. He can play as an emergency left mid, if needed. He had 28 appearances this season. He had 1 assist and no goals. For Bournemouth, he was in the starting 11 58% of the time, and yeah. Let me see. I don't got like any possession stats here, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. The only thing I guess I could really say is that he is fairly young, so it wouldn't be a bad option. 20 years old. But I don't know. For that situation, he might have to take up the mantle. Because Shaw never stays fit in one season, and we don't know what condition Malacia is in. Like, we don't know if Malacia is gonna be completely fine. Like going forward, is he gonna become injury prone? Is he gonna struggle? Is he gonna have problems? So you're going for a young guy. Malacia is, I think, a year or two older than him, or maybe 3. And then Shaw is obviously the oldest out of all 3. And then, like Richard's saying, we do have Harry Amos as well, but I don't think he's ready yet. But he might need another year. But it wouldn't be the worst thing there. Richard's saying, I think Kirk has a good couple of games, but he's not proven. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Rajat saying, how about if we work Ryan at Nouri for 55 million? Yeah, I mean, he's 55 is every time we mention like a transfer fee, I'm like, oh, it's a little expensive. It's a little expensive. But it's like, it's just because we're in such a shit position. You know what I mean? But yeah, I kind of like him. Well, I like him a little bit better, right? I'm a little bit more familiar with him. But I don't know. Like, you spend 55 million on the left back. At the left back for me is like the 4th priority. So it's a little bit difficult. I don't know. I guess it really depends how much money we would have available. If it's basically, I would have to say this, like, if we can get the center back, right? The CDM and the striker, and you would get that left back for 55 million, and that would have no effect on the other targets that we're getting, where we wouldn't have to like make a cut or something, right? Or we would have to downgrade to not the top choice because of money. And yeah, I would be fine with that. But I don't know. I don't know how much money we're gonna have. And then the priority for me, left back is probably the 4th. Because at the end of the day, we could always just loan in a player if we really need. If it comes down to it, in that position, you could technically probably just loan in a player like we did with Reguilon, but like obviously get somebody a little bit better, and then actually fucking keep them and not send them back in January. And just keep them for the year if we really needed to do something like that. Because the center back position is more important. The CDM is definitely more important, and the striker position, we definitely need that as well. So, but he's a good player though. Yeah. Axel wants Amos debut season. I mean, listen. I still feel like he's kind of too young, but again, age is just a number sometimes, right? You don't have to really see him when he comes into the team. I would like to see him get a couple opportunities to play, so we can like fully judge him in a first team professional setting. Because to even watch them for the youth academy is totally different than when you go and you play in the Premier League. So, I would like to see him get a game or two here and there maybe, and let's see what he's all about. maybe he's, what if he handles it well like Manu? What if he takes it on his shoulders? What if he takes it on his back? What if he carries himself in such a way with confidence and then maybe he could. But he is still fairly young, and he still needs to make a certain first step. You know what I mean? He still needs to like actually make the appearance, um, put in a good performance or whatever. Baby steps. He's not there yet, so it's too much of a gamble or risk to just be like, we got Harry Amos and just throw him in there and then we'll probably be okay. We need something a little bit more solid. So I see maybe that's why they are looking at this player here. They are looking at Milos Kerkez because he's young, right? So it would kind of fit what they're trying to do, and get a bunch of these young players so that they can build in the next 3 seasons or so. And then they'll be a little bit older, they'll be a little bit in a better position. And then they would probably also, keep Malacia. And I mean, that's good squad depth if you think about it anyway. Like, if you have Shaw, Malacia, and Milos Kerkez, and then fourth would be like Harry Amos, who is like potential very young, high potential left back, where he, won't have like all the pressure, or really any pressure, and we could just throw him on as a sub or something, get his feet wet, and see how he does, while that's going on, and then let's push it down the line and say like 3 years later, maybe Shaw will be out of there, because he'll be older, probably be a little bit more injury prone. And then, Milos will be 23. Harry Amos will be 20 because he's 17, if I'm not mistaken, 20 or 21. So it would kind of progress decently well if we went that way. Richard's saying I would love Amos to be in the senior squad this season. And then he also said, what I don't get is Luke Shaw. I love Shaw, but he's about to play for England, and we haven't had him most of the season. Well, he was injured. And it didn't line up. It didn't line up for him to come back in time for us, right? I mean, if you like, I get what you're saying, and I seen some people like talking about this, but to be fair to Luke Shaw, it's not like he was ready to go, and he just didn't play for us. He's had, including the week of the FA Cup, which he didn't play in. He's had another 2 weeks. He's training. He didn't play in the friendly, right? In the England friendly that they just had against Bosnia the other day, he didn't play in that, right? So like he's there, like he's in contention to come back. He obviously still has to get up to speed a little bit, but yeah, he's had a couple extra weeks to get there. Unfortunately for us, the time frame didn't work out. But the only thing is that he does get injured every single season. So I already know, like, going into next season, that at some point in the season, like, Luke Shaw is gonna get injured, and Luke Shaw is gonna miss a certain amount of games. Like, whether it's 2 games, 5 games, or 10 games, like, he's gonna miss games. So right away there, we're looking to the backup. Now, hopefully Malacia is good and his surgery is finally corrected, and he's on his recovery, right? Road to recovery, and he will he'll just be fine. He'll be fine. Like, he won't suffer like setbacks or anything. He won't really get injured. And that'll be fine, because then we have him and he can play. And if we get this kid, or somebody that's about that age, they could be there as well. So. Yeah, I mean, our medical center, we all know it's a huge problem. We all know it's a huge problem. They got to get that sorted too. This is what I'm saying. Like, INEOS got a lot of shit they got to fix. It's, and that's what I'm kind of getting frustrated with. It's like, you're spending all this time on the manager, and it's like, and I don't know how many weeks, months, I literally been saying that, like, you could criticize the manager, you don't have to like the manager, but at the end of the day, there are far bigger problems at that club than the manager. And it's like now we're spending like 2 to 3 weeks solely focusing on the manager. And it's like, well, what is your plans to fix all the other shit? Because you can chop and change the manager. We still have all those other problems. And unless you fix those other problems and you have a plan to fix those other problems, changing the manager ain't gonna do much. I mean, straight out of the words of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who literally said it in an interview, was like the atmosphere, at Manchester United hasn't been set up for a manager to be successful in a long time. He said we had many great managers here, and they all operated under the same atmosphere, and they all failed. And I'm like, so if you take your own words, Sir Jim, why are we spending so much time looking at the manager? Why aren't we spending more time fixing the atmosphere around the manager? Fix the atmosphere, right? Fix all that shit, and then do whatever you please with the manager. For me, that's what it is. I mean, Luke can go. I don't know if they're gonna sell him. If they do, they do. And I like Luke Shaw, but I would understand why he has to go because he is injury prone. I think Luke Shaw does provide a lot for us on the pitch. I think he does good. I think Rashford benefits with playing with Luke Shaw on that side, but again, availability, and reliability, he is not the best possible solution for that. So it is what it is. Axel was saying I played Football Manager 24 and Amos instead of Fernandez is a good choice. LOL, it's just a game. I play it too. I was just playing it the other day. Yeah, Fernandez, he doesn't make it no more. He used to. I think it was like 1 or 2 games ago. He would turn out real great, but now no. Now no. I also had another 2 updates here, so let's get on to that and then we'll end the show. But it's been a good conversation. If you haven't smashed the like button already, smash the like button for me, please. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you to everybody that has done so far. So our last couple updates that we have here, and then I'll check the news before we get out of here just in case, but I don't think there's been anything. So we have this piece. So Kobe Mainu, since we were talking about wages earlier, Kobe Mainu is expected to sign a new contract at Manchester United worth $60,000 a week by the start of the new season, which is pretty fucking hilarious. That we were saying that because Kobe Mainu, you can argue Kobe Mainu's done more in one season for Manchester United than Sancho's done in what would be 2 to 3. What Anthony's done would be in 2 to 3. What a couple other players have done in probably longer. And Kobe Mainu is only going to be making $60,000 a week in his upgraded salary. Which I get it. You're gonna argue, it's unfair to the kid or whatever because look at what these other assholes are getting paid, right? But it is, in my opinion, a good indication of how INEOS are trying to do these things, right? So listen, he's getting paid 60 grand. 60 grand for his age is still good money. When you start comparing it to other players, it's not the greatest money. A lot of them earn a lot more. But I'm kind of here for this. He's a young guy. He needs to stay a little bit grounded, right? And he has a lot more that he needs to prove as well, and he has a lot more growth that he has to do, and he has a lot more things that he needs to accomplish in a Manchester United shirt. I also think, it keeps him hungry. Like, it keeps him hungry. Like, obviously, like any person, you always want to make more money anyway. Even if it's something, whether it's something you do that you don't like or something that you fairly enjoy, you always want more money, right? So he's gonna want more money at some point. But I think it's good. It gives him an incentive to keep going. Like, he's getting an upgrade on what he's already making, right? Because he's done well, so he's getting rewarded, while still leaving the room for improvement and hunger, which I think is important. And also I think it's kind of an indication of like, maybe that thing with Torsen was true. Maybe they didn't want to give him 100,000 to sit on the bench. Maybe they're really really tough on these wages. And they really see it as a problem. And players that are gonna come in, they're gonna negotiate these really low wages, or we don't want you. The lowest they could possibly negotiate. Maybe that is a good clear indication that they are doing this. Because I kind of feel like if it was the regime of old, he would be getting far way more than 60K. And that would solely just be because his agent, which is doing his job, right? It's his agent. His agent is to try and get the most and the best for his client. They would be asking probably 120 grand. And United would just stupidly be like, yeah, we'll give you 120 grand because we don't want to lose him, and we need this player, and he's popular with the fans. So but obviously it seems like they've handled that pretty well. And then on the next piece, I don't know why that's getting cut off there, but we'll just get rid of these so we could see it properly. So here, if you see on the screen, because there has been some talk, which we didn't really talk about, but I could talk about it now. So there was a couple updates previously that Bruno Fernandes has not decided his future yet. That Bruno Fernandes is waiting to make a decision. Part of his decision is based on Erik ten Hag's future and what happens with Erik ten Hag. He wants Erik ten Hag to stay. Bruno Fernandes' agent, who is his brother, has been traveling around to different clubs, contacting them and just seeing what's up. Talking to them and seeing if there's maybe any interest in him, or if the interest is what it would be. And so this story has followed, saying that Diego Dalot is seen inside Manchester United as captain material if Bruno Fernandes leaves this summer. So on two things here that we could talk about, right? The two things we could talk about. Number one, I think Diego Dalot has a very good mentality. And I think Diego Dalot could be a captain for Manchester United. I wouldn't be against it. I think he has an excellent mentality. I think he has a good work rate. I think he sets a good example for other players. What I don't want is Diego Dalot to become the captain because we sold fucking Bruno Fernandes. I am completely against Bruno Fernandes leaving. I do not want Bruno Fernandes to leave. I think Bruno Fernandes is a very important player to us. And I don't want him to go. I don't want him to go. I don't think he should be going. I don't think Bruno Fernandes should be going anywhere. I think Bruno Fernandes is not a problem that needs to be addressed as of right now. And I think INEOS, Sid Jim, they should really be, unless they sell Bruno and they go get like a younger, like a Florian Wirtz or something, and they throw that in there. But still, I don't want Bruno to leave. Like, Bruno is one of my favorite players, and I love him dearly. And I think he does a fantastic job for us. And I think he's been, for me, he's the best signing post Fergie out of every player. And we've signed a shit ton of players, and we signed a lot of shit. We signed some decent ones, but he, to me, is definitely the best one that we made. He's had the biggest impact. He's been the most important. And he's been the most consistent. So for me, he is by far the best signing post Ferguson era, in my opinion. Also, the price that we got him for was fantastic. And he is the fucking captain of our club. And I don't want Bruno Fernandes to go. But, because there's always a but. Sometimes it's big and sometimes it's little. And sometimes it's medium. But, I wouldn't be against this. I like Diego Dalot very much. And I think Diego Dalot has the correct mentality, the correct attitude. I think Diego Dalot could be a captain for Manchester United. If it's not Bruno, I would like that very much. I think Dalot had a very very excellent season this season, and you know, I would like to see I would like to see I would like to see him don the armband one day. Um, yeah, that would be cool. So just a couple things. POCH's win percentage against the top six is 29% from 110 games. Ten Hag is 39% from 31 games. I mean, obviously there's a gulf in games, but um, if you continue the trajectory of the percentage, Ten Hag's would end up being higher than Poch's over the course once he hit 110 games, and they had the same amount of games. Now, there was something from Sky Sports that came out early this morning that is not strictly related to Manchester United, but it could have some not implications, but it could have something to do with us. As Sky Sports reported that six Premier League clubs have six Premier League clubs face having to sell players before the end of June to comply with profit and sustainability rules. Sky Sports News understands that Chelsea, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Everton, Nottingham Forest, and Leicester City are the clubs under pressure. So, according to this report, we might have we might be able to do a deal here or there. Like Jared Brantwaite, I'm pretty sure he didn't get selected for the England squad. So he's not involved in the Euros now. And Everton need to sell. Maybe we get Brantwaite for 50 million because Everton, according to this, are under pressure to comply with profit and sustainability rules, and they need to make a sale before the end of June. So there might be some deals out there to be made, especially with these clubs being under pressure to get some money in. They might not be in the luxury to really hold out for a high price, and therefore we could sneak in there and maybe get a bit of a cut price on some of these players. Obviously, as far as I know, I think who was the Chelsea player that they linked us to? He was a center back. I forgot his name, but he's there. I haven't seen any Aston Villa players we've been linked to. I haven't seen any Newcastle players. We've been linked to Onana and Brantwaite from Everton. No Forest players and no Leicester City players, but maybe somebody some appear, and we go and make a move for them. And I'm just gonna check to see if we had any latest news. So this came out 22 minutes ago. From Mike McGrath. Mike McGrath reporting that Manchester United want to sign a Premier League experienced striker. So if that's the case, Ivan Toney, Girasay, who else have we been linked to? That's in the Prem. But if that's true, we are looking for a Premier League proven striker. So we are not going to get a striker from outside the league. So no Sesko. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I don't see any other news. But yeah, there was that update on the striker situation. So there is that. Let me get back here. We need Bruno to stay. We won't give you 300,000 a week unless you're top class. Okay, he is B Fernandez. They should pay him. I mean, yeah, there was talks that he might be just he wants a new contract. He's looking for a bumper pay. So he might be doing these things, right? Yeah, but INEOS are very against this. They want to cut that wage bill down across the whole thing. They don't care who you are, so maybe they don't want to give him the 300K. I mean, the fans might be okay with paying him that money, right? But INEOS seem very very against these very high wages. They want to cut as many high wages as possible. Whether that means negotiating a lower fee or just getting the player out of the club, moving them on and then getting a different player with a lower wage. It seems like something they're very highly focused on. So Axel was saying Solanke. Yeah, Solanke's another option there. Garasay would be my choice. Xerxes out. Yeah, Xerxes would be out if that's true. Yeah, I mean, what other options do we really have? Like in the Premier League, Tony, Garasay, Solanke. I'm trying to think of. Oh, you know what? But I don't think we would go for him. But I literally just seen news that so you know the young Xerxes is a Xerxes is a young striker. Plays oh yeah, he might go to Dortmund, yeah. No, sorry. I read that wrong. So what I was saying was there's the young Wolves player, the young Portuguese player, the striker Fabio Silva. Um Obviously I don't think he's like amazing or whatever. He is still young, but I just seen that he said that he doesn't want to stay at Wolves anymore. He said it's pretty obvious and he's looking for a move. So maybe he could be on the list as well. I don't really know who else is here. You know what I mean? I don't really know who else is on the list. But yeah, I think we ran it for an hour and 40, and I think that's all for today. Hopefully there's some more news, right? You need someone Rasmus can learn from. Yeah, that's what I think too. I don't think it could be a younger guy. It has to be an older guy, right? So yeah, you make a good point there, Richard. It does have to be somebody older, with a little bit more experience. Um, but I'm gonna end it here, cause I gotta go eat dinner and do a couple things before NBA. I don't know if you guys watch NBA, but yeah, the finals start and that's gonna be starting up. So I got a couple things I gotta take care of before that happens. But uh, listen, we will go live again this week. I just don't know what day it is yet. So if there is significant news, depending on what comes out tomorrow, obviously if we get the Ten Hag decision, we're obviously gonna go live. But if there's like good amount of updates, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, but definitely one of those days. And if it doesn't happen Friday and Saturday, then guaranteed Sunday we'll do the Sunday show. Nice talk and whatever they got. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you everybody for being here. Rajat, Richard, Axe Lord for being in here. We were missing a couple of our other usuals, but that's you know it's bound to happen. People got lives. They're busy. Sandy was in here. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to you guys for carrying the chat. It was good chatting to you guys. Have a good night. Be good. Stay safe. Be well, and we'll see you on the next one. Hopefully we get a decision on Ten Hag soon, and hopefully we get some better stories that we could talk about, and we start making a little bit more moves, so we could all get a little bit more excited. But other than that, yeah, have a good night, guys, and we'll see you on the next one for sure. Appreciate you, and we'll catch you later.